Let's talk about Tom Dundon. There's been some talk about him this week, and I've waited till the weekend so we can discuss some things. And I'm collecting together everything I've been reading over the last week because Tom Dundon is a very, very transparent owner. You'll know exactly how he feels in all situations at all times, and that's not always a good thing. Sometimes if you're telegraphing things to your opponents, that kind of thing. But it's weird because he's kind of torn down his own coach and his own GM this week. So let's get into this. He's all about offense. He wants to lose 5-4. He doesn't want to lose 2-1. He wants to have fun while he's losing. That's a weird way of putting it. Most owners, if I owned a team, it would be, hey, I want to see a team that goes out there and wins games. If they're 2-1, great. If we win 5-4, that's great too. I want the fans to be entertained, but more important than anything, I want to make sure we're putting a winning product on the ice that's going to challenge for a Stanley Cup. No, I want to be entertained while we're losing 5-4. He's different. He's different. If you've noticed him wearing red uniforms on the road, that's him. He has stated that he doesn't like the white uniforms. So if they can wear the red on the road, they'll wear the red on the road. I've said before, I'd like to see teams where if it's a large contrast between the two colors, you could have them both wearing their dark jerseys on the ice, and it looks kind of fun. It happens every now and then. So Tom Dundon's kind of right on that one. I'm kind of okay with that one. And losing makes him sad. Weird that he says losing makes him sad. It should make him jump into action and fix it. But here's the thing. The fire sale in the offseason that they had doesn't seem to have had the desired effect. And the one thing that I wonder with him is he's very, very passionate. He's very involved. But is he not letting his hockey management team do the managing part of things? Is he too hands-on? Because owners that are too hands-on, that can be frustrating. He wants to expand the playoffs. He has come out and said this week he is a huge fan of the idea of expanding the playoffs, and big. So we've been talking about adding a wild card. Please. He wants 24 teams in the playoffs. He'd like to see a round where your top 8 teams get a bye to the second round, and 16 teams are playing in the first round. Maybe a best of 3, maybe a best of 5, to see who meets the 8 teams waiting for them. No. Please no. Just no. So, and they even said in the article, it's kind of self-serving since Carolina can't finish in the top 16, so trying to expand it to 24, and mentioning that when he became a fan of hockey in the 80s, 16 out of 21 teams made the playoffs. I have done a history series where I've pointed out how ridiculous that was and how insane it was that a team with 59 points could go into the playoffs and play against a team with over 100 and potentially knock that team with over 100 points out while they won a grand total of 23 games during the regular season. No. Just no. He wants no dress code. So that's an interesting one, too. He was a big fan of John Tortorella standing behind the bench in a hoodie in Columbus. He thinks that's great. He's told Rod Brindamore, you can come to work without a tie if you'd like to. So, if you'd like to just, he kind of sounds like a reverse Lundberg, doesn't he? It's Hawaiian Shirt Fridays, so if you want to, you can wear a Hawaiian shirt. It's Office Space. I understand if that went over the heads of some out there, but it does. It's so weird, and he wants the players to have their dress code relaxed. Oh man, Don Cherry will climb right up into that owner's box if he does that. And I'm on the fence with this. I'm okay with the idea of players being allowed to wear kind of what they want, but you don't want them to look slovenly when they arrive to the arena. You don't want them to look like slobs on the plane. I think when they're wearing shirt and tie, when they're wearing suits and they look smart and dapper, I think that's good for the game. I think that's fine. And when we look at the NBA, we look at how ridiculous things can get, and the NBA eventually had to crack down on it. So, I can understand sort of his point, but at the same time, dude, you're paying these guys millions of dollars. And this is a hockey tradition that goes back for a very long time. So you're not going to change that. Rod Brindamore has not taken him up on his offer to not wear a tie behind the bench. And I agree. I think your coach should look like the boss. He should look like the guy who's in charge. Tortorella, when he was standing behind the bench in a hoodie, he just looked like he was just frustrated. Or that he got a stain on his dress shirt. He's like, crap. Fine, I'll just wear the hoodie. Nah, forget it. I'll just wear the hoodie. I don't care. And then he probably sent the shirt to Larry Brooks and said, dry clean this for me. He wants a new building, but he doesn't want to pay for it. So Tom Dundon comes out and just says it. I think we should have a downtown building. I think we need a new building. I think that'll help our attendance. I don't want to pay out of pocket for it. Again, I respect his openness and his honesty. I don't know how much traction he's going to get with that kind of honesty, though. How many people are going to actually say, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. We as taxpayers should pay for that because you don't feel like it. Because that's kind of how it comes across. Like, oh, yeah, no, I don't want to pay for that. No. City, state, whoever, you guys can pay for it. And then it's come out as well. He's been pushing for this, that he wants an outdoor game in Carolina. He's pushing pretty hard, apparently, that he wants an outdoor game in Carolina. Now, while I think that would be interesting for drumming up interest, also the NHL uses the outdoor game to really boost look how many people we got here. We got 50,000 people out here to watch this Bruins and Chicago game. We got 60,000. We get 65,000 in this football stadium where people up in the top can't see squat. How does that work with Carolina where you can't fill your building? That's the problem. If you look at the teams where they give these outdoor games, it's usually the teams that draw really well. And cold environment is important, but so is the fact that you can fill the stadium. You don't want to have an outdoor game and have like half empty stadium and a dead crowd and, have that for the world to see, because the outdoor games are really sort of NHL PR, which brings me to Tom Dundon's biggest criticism of the NHL, which is they don't promote their star players enough. I agree. In other sports, you will see like players are portrayed as larger than life, and in hockey, that really doesn't happen enough. He pointed out that Connor McDavid and the Oilers came to town, and it was the lowest attended game of the year. And he said, with the name Connor McDavid, people should want to come out and see him. The one thing with that is that with the way hockey is, and just in general, the way it's more of a team game than almost any other sport. Selling me on the idea that I can go to a game to see Connor McDavid, even as a guy who's a hockey fan for decades, I'm more interested in the team that's coming to town than I am in the star player that's coming to town. And I'm not sure that NHL marketing would make any difference to me, but they definitely do need to market the stars better. They really do. The amount of anonymity that players have in the league is crazy compared to football, basketball, baseball, the big sports in the United States. It's just insane. McDavid is a known entity, absolutely, but the NHL could really promote their stars better. And I know people in the States are like, oh yeah, like they don't promote Crosby. I know. I'm just saying that he's making a statement. It doesn't promote its stars as well as it could, and I'm kind of in agreement with him on that. And then he undercut his general manager this week. Don Waddell has to be just frustrated. And I've talked about Don Waddell and his work as a GM, but Tom Dundon came out and said there's no drafting defenseman in the first round. That's stupid. And I'm saying that because if you're looking at a team and you go, wow, this team's scoring 4 goals a game, they're all offense. You're not looking at their blue line. A lot of the time, these teams that are playing really well and scoring all these goals. Tampa's got Hedman and McDonough. The Toronto Maple Leafs, they got Morgan Rielly having a career year. You look at Calgary, they've got Giordano. You have to have an explosive defenseman. In the first round when Carolina drafts, if you have a shot at an excellent defenseman or a potential sniper, you're usually going to lean towards that excellent defenseman because you have to have that if you're going to contend and you're going to do something in the Stanley Cup playoffs. You can get away with winning a championship without that really big sniper, but I would argue that winning a Stanley Cup without a horse on the blue line who can play at both ends of the ice is really quite difficult, and it's quite rare that a team's able to do it. So for him to come out and say, we will not be drafting defensemen in the first round, period, I don't know how to react to that other than that's probably not a good idea for the organization. And it does definitely, it smacks of a guy who is really enthusiastic. And I think the enthusiasm Dundon has is the reason why I'm not talking about the potential of moving the Hurricanes. I don't think he has any intention of moving Carolina. He has said he doesn't want to lose money forever. He's not there to just keep throwing money at the team. It's fine. But I think he's a long way from saying that's it, throwing his hands in the air and saying I have to move this team. I really don't think that's going to happen, and it was part of the agreement when he bought the team that he wouldn't. So, undercutting your general manager by saying we're not going to draft defensemen, and basically along the lines of we want offense. It leads you to believe that when Waddell wants to make a decision and wants to make a trade, it probably has to go through Dundon. I didn't see that in anything that I read. I haven't seen that in anything I've read since Don Waddell was hired, but that is quite possible. That he has to at least sit down and explain to the owner a trade he's making and why. But again, they traded away Skinner. They traded away Lindholm. They're both having amazing seasons elsewhere, and that bites. That bites pretty hard because here's the owner saying we want to score a bunch of goals, and you just traded away guys who are having excellent seasons offensively. So I wonder if, when Dundon was hired, I was very happy with his enthusiasm and the fact that he wanted to keep it in Carolina, and he was starting to lower ticket prices and seemingly listening to the fans. And he still has all of those aspects of his game as an owner, but I do wonder, does he fit as an NHL owner, and what kind of success will we see with Carolina with him at the helm? Because again, saying I'm never drafting a defenseman in the first round, yeah, you are. You have to. You have to have your general manager sitting there at the table and going, well, let's look at our defense. This guy who's available right now would really help our blue line. We're going to go ahead and draft a defenseman. Or the approach I always like is best player available. Best player available, I don't think hurts you. If you get the best player in the draft, I don't think you look back and go, well, we got the best player, but we already had a left winger, so I'm not sure why we drafted him. So, yeah, not drafting defensemen. I don't know about that. Let me know what you guys think. Especially, like the dress code and expanding to 24 teams in the playoffs. So all that stuff I talked about last week about how owners are pushing for it, I have a funny feeling it's Dundon. I think it's Dundon. There's probably a couple other owners who go, yeah, that's a great idea, Tom. And then as soon as he walks away, they do the new guy. Yeah, he's a new guy. He's new. He's got the hoodie. I know. We're all dressed in suits. He's got the hoodie and the ball cap, and I don't know. Whatever Tom says, just nod and go, that's a great idea, Tom. We'll take that under advisement. And then he seems to be placated by that. That's how I read it, because the NHL is a very traditional league, and I can't see a dramatic change to things. I could see some small changes, and again, wearing red on the road, I like those small changes. I like the idea of teams changing things up when it comes to jerseys. But hey, let me know your thoughts about this in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.